as for a long time, students didn't have a platform to share their experiences in the center. And I had an idea in talking with my parents that it would be amazing if students had a platform where they could share their experiences, their successes, and how the study of Kabbalah has inspired them. And so that's what led to the creation of the Success Series. In short, the Success Series is a podcast that merges the worlds of spirituality and success. There are many different podcasts that are out there, but very few of them talk about spirituality, right? You have the ones that are focused on success and how this person built a business, how they made a ton of money, and then you have ones that are focused on spirituality as a separation. The way that I see it is that true success is when you have success monetarily, financially, but also in your spirituality where you feel a sense of peace, a sense of certainty. And so throughout the podcast, we've recorded 50 episodes to date with various guests, from all over the world. It's very exciting. And some of them are students, most of them are students, some of them have just started studying Kabbalah. But the common theme in all of them is that they found success internally and then their businesses became successful. Because I believe that even if you have a very successful business and financially you're set, if there isn't a tether to the light of the Creator, to true spirituality, you're not living a successful life. And so each one of our guests have shared different things, and we'll be sharing a little bit of that today. I have a guest joining us today. Those of you may know him from Mexico City, Victor Rosales. He's very successful, but also just a very genuinely good person. He thought the Success Series was going to start at 1 p.m., so he's on the way from the beach now, and he'll be here shortly. But in the meantime, I wanted to share a bit about the different things that I've learned from the guests that I've had on the show, and what the mission for the Success Series is in the long term. And so I've spoken to many different guests. Some are actors, some are celebrities, some are business owners, some run small businesses. But the common themes throughout all of them is that they had a genuine purpose and desire for what they were doing. Every single one of them didn't say, I want to make money, and then how can I do it? They had a passion for something, and that passion turned into their financial success. And so I think when we look at life, and when I look at my own life as well, it must start from a place of, what do I feel passionate about? What do I feel called to do? And we all have something different. For some of us, it might be being a hairdresser. For others, we might be passionate about farming, maybe being an actor, starting your own business. But those desires are desires that came from the light of the Creator. So we might think that we had those desires internally, but the reason why the desire even existed to begin with is the Creator was saying, this is something that I want you to manifest in this world, and that's why you have a desire to do it. And so that's the first thing. So determining your passion, determining your purpose, and then determining how can I go ahead and create a business out of this. And it comes naturally. The second thing is they were all very balanced. A lot of people that are successful maybe spend so much time working, not enough time with family, so much time working, not enough time in spirituality. But the ones that had true lasting fulfillment and happiness and success were ones that had a balance. And so balance for each one of us can be different. Balance can be waking up in the morning and spending time with your kids before you go to the office. It can be skipping a work trip because it's your wife's anniversary, your anniversary with her. It can be, taking a couple days off to just be in nature and talk to the Creator. For each one of us, it can be something different. But the important thing is that whatever our work is doesn't consume our lives. Because when that happens, then our self-worth is contingent on it. Then we feel if the business is doing well, then we're happy. If it's not, then we're sad. And so balance paired with purpose almost always leads to success. But to get to a next level of success where you're not worried about it going away, you have true certainty that it'll last, is where the Creator comes in. And so it's very hard as a business owner, as somebody running their own operation, to say, I'm going to trust the Creator, because you have to work extremely hard. You have to raise money maybe, you have to manage employees. There are so many different things that you have to do. And so to feel that it's in the hands of the Creator almost feels counterintuitive. It's like I'm working so hard, and now you want me to say it's the Creator, but I didn't sleep last night. I've spent 10, 15 days in a row traveling on the road, and now I have to surrender my ego and say it's the Creator. So there's one thing that my father shared with me on that. He said, from the moment that you wake up in the morning, you have to know with complete certainty that it's only because of you. But then when you go to sleep at night, you have to let go completely and say, the only reason why I'm successful is because of the light of the Creator. So it's the paradox of life, right? The 12 waking hours of the day, it's only you, and then the hours that you're asleep, it's only the light of the Creator. Another thing that they shared, and it's funny how you see common themes, even though they chase different passions, different purposes, is that they had a deep sense of wanting to do good for the world. And sometimes it manifests in different ways for each one of us, but I think the fact that we're here on this retreat, the fact that we flew and drove to come here, we obviously have a desire for more than ourselves, right? If it was just about me making money, we probably would be in our businesses, we wouldn't take 3-4 days off from work to come and be here. But the common theme is a deep, deep sense of wanting to do good for the world. And oftentimes in conversations with people, they say, I run a software company, how can I do good for the world? Or I have a restaurant. Sure, I can help my customers, but at the end of the day, I have a profit to make. But what I learned was when the purpose is to do good for others, the creator shows you a way to inspire and help other people. For example, let's say you have a passion to start a cafe. Those of you that are from the US, there's a coffee shop called Best Buddies. And basically the owner said, I have a desire to help people, but I also want to run a cafe. And so he made a cafe that hires people with special needs, whether it's mental disabilities, whether it's physical disabilities, and they're the entire staff. They have one manager that oversees the operation. But when you come in, you see these young adults and children with a smile on their face. They get an opportunity to work. They get an opportunity to do good for the world. It's inspiring, but it's also a business, right? So you can always find a way to tie the two together. And so what I'd love to just put it out there for all of those of you that are here today, think about it, maybe write it down. What's an area of your life that maybe you'd like to pursue, but don't think that you can because maybe it's not spiritual. Maybe you feel like it's too business focused. There's not a way to tie it back to the creator, and so maybe let's write that down. What's an area that you have passion in, that you've yet to manifest because you don't feel that it's in line with what you want to do for the world? So let's pause for a moment and do that. Great, so now that we've set that intention, one of the things that I noticed in people once they achieve success is there's a guilt. You start to feel that there's other people that are less fortunate than me, and so I shouldn't be successful. I'm spending too much time making money, I should be helping the rest of the world. That thought process is coming from the opponent. The opponent comes into our lives to say to us, you should really be spending time doing other things. You shouldn't be spending time running your business. You shouldn't be spending time thinking about ideas on yourself. There should be a greater, broader vision for the world. But when we listen to that voice, it usually paralyzes us. It tells us, I don't want to do this anymore, so I'm going to sit and wait for something to come into my life. And when that happens, we don't pursue our business, we don't pursue our passion, and we're left feeling empty. We live a life that's for somebody else. We think the world has a certain expectation for us. And so the best place to be is to understand that the best thing that you can do for the world is doing what your voice inside tells you and doing what you feel internally. When we listen to other people, we're not helping them and we're not helping ourselves. And so I was talking to a friend earlier and they said, one thing that you should ask to the crowd is if you have a desire to either pursue spirituality, to pursue something in the physical way, what's the one takeaway that you'd give them? And the one thing that's always lived with me and speaking with all the different guests on the podcast, it's do the things that you say that you'll do. And so oftentimes there's a disparity between I say something and then I do something different, either because of fear, either because of uncertainty, either because our parents want us to do something different, our spouse wants us to do something different. But the most successful people are the ones that always do what they say they'll do. Sometimes it can be listening to your thoughts and then manifesting and acting on those. Other times it can be, I said this, but then I don't have enough money to do it. There's no real way. I don't have a business plan. I've never run a software company. All the doubts and negativity start to come in, and then we freeze and we get paralyzed. So the most common and consistent way to do it is to say, if I'm going to say something out loud, I'm going to do it, whether everything in the world's against me, whether I don't have the support, I'm not smart enough, I don't have the understanding of software or running a cafe, but I have a desire to do it, and so I'm going to do it anyways. And so I'd love to call somebody up now who maybe has a desire to do something, but hasn't pursued it yet because of fear, and maybe you'll overcome it now. So does anybody want to share either a current experience or something previously where they had an immense fear to do something, but they felt internally that they should?
So I was fortunate enough to be in one of David's podcast Success Series, and it's really a special thing what he does. So it reminded me of what we talked about when you did the podcast with me. So I'll share. I think I've had a lot of it's kind of a paradox because I've had a lot of success in my career, but if you wouldn't know it, but I probably have more fear than most businessmen. So I think just sharing my process, I'll share both. There's a little bit like before Kabbalah, then now with Kabbalah. But before Kabbalah, and I think they're both valid, right? So we'll talk about the spiritual perspective after, but just from the practical level, if you have a feeling to do something and a desire to do something in your career, it's a quality. You just need to, if you have it naturally or if you don't have it naturally, you just need to jump off the diving board and do it, right? it's like the definition of courage. It's not the absence of fear, it's having fear and doing it anyway, right? So that's probably been the most, important trait, is to just move forward even in the face of fear. And the worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work out and then you go to the next thing, right? So, and I think now we go from the Kabbalistic perspective, when we get messages, right, and we feel the desire to do something, that's from the light, right? So we need to follow that, and most of us, Monica talks about all the time, change, right, is the most important thing, right? We need to transform. Through moving through the fear and taking the action and going for it, and even when you fail, you change and you grow and something else happens. So I'll share an example now from what David's at the question. So I'm in the real estate business, and I decided to get into another business 8 years ago, completely unrelated to real estate. But I had this feeling, good, bad, right, or wrong, that I need to do this. And I went all in, and 8 years later, I failed, right? And it's a huge process for me, but the beautiful thing with failure is it's cliche, we hear it all the time, there's so much to learn and grow from failure. And I can share from a business perspective and the spiritual perspective. From the business perspective, I learned more in the last 8 years than the last 35 years of my career, by far. And it's been an incredible experience. Now, is it painful? It's extremely painful. It's probably the most painful process I've gone through in business. Not probably, it is in my business life. But would I change it? No. And I probably wouldn't say that if I wasn't on this spiritual path, to be honest. But now that I understand this wisdom, I'm on this path, I know that experience I had to go through, and what I've learned from it is, it's been, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And from the spiritual perspective also, so practical points, we won't get into the details about how it helped me as a businessman, but spiritually, what I learned about myself is probably even more powerful. And how I, not even in business, but how I relate to other people, how I make certain decisions, what I would do in the future better. And again, if I didn't have that experience, then, I wouldn't have these revelations. So my advice is 100% to jump off the diving board, even in the face of fear.
Thanks for sharing. You say jumping off the diving board, that was my question. If you're afraid and everything's against you, right? You're running out of money, your partner's messing you over, do you just jump and say, Creator, help me out? Or is there some tangible, practical way to go about it?
Yeah, so, I do that now, because I have other situations in business that are happening. I do, when I do my prayers and meditations, I do ask the Creator, guide me, show me, should I pursue this opportunity? And once you have that, and if you still have that feeling, right, just make sure it's not about me and my little thing, make sure the light's involved, then there's, from a practical perspective, it's just going for it. It's not listening to the fear, it's listening to what you feel in your gut.
Right.
It literally is just jumping off the diving board. And I would also say, I guess practical would be day by day, right? What am I going to do today? Don't think about the whole, whether it's a 1-year process, a 10-year process, think about moment by moment, what am I going to do today to advance this desire I have, right? Then you wake up the next day and you ask the Creator, okay, guide me. And then, so I would say, it would be helpful, it is jumping off the diving board, but jump off the diving board day by day. I think that'll help, from my experience, the process. Because once you start thinking about the whole thing, then it becomes overwhelming, and the fear might become too overwhelming.
Right. Beautiful. Thanks for sharing, Jeff.
Yeah.
To echo Jeff's point, and I see Victor just walked in, so before we call him on stage, I think oftentimes the reason why we don't achieve success is always because of fear. And I think fear can manifest as caring what other people think about us, as not believing in our own abilities to be successful. But I can speak for myself. I started a business about a year ago, and I didn't know anything. It was my first time starting a business. I never raised money before. I never had an employee, never managed payroll. So there were a million unknowns, but the only thing that I knew for certain was that I had a desire to start this company. And that desire in and of itself was enough to teach me how to do payroll, teach me how to hire employees, teach me how to manage a team, teach me how to raise money, but I knew none of that. And so, to Jeff's point, if we can just jump into things with the certainty that we will figure things out, we don't need to have the answers today, but the desire is enough to teach us the right things. And so, again, if we're gonna leave with one thing today, know that if you have a desire internally, you uniquely are meant to manifest it. If you have that desire, I won't have the same desire as you, so the universe and the world is relying on you to manifest that thing. So you should actually think of it from a place of responsibility. The Creator has given you that desire to manifest it for the universe so that you can inspire, that you can share your light with the world. And so Victor, thank you for being here with us today. For those of you that don't know Victor, Victor is from Mexico City. He took a loan out on the first property that he bought. He took a loan against his mother's home to buy a property, and he had absolutely no money and worked, I think, construction for several years before doing that. How you define success?
Thank you very much, David, for having me. I appreciate you, and I appreciate this space to share my personal experience to all my friends from all over the world. I'm Victor Rosales. I'm an entrepreneur. I started when I was my first formal business when I was 21 years old. I started to sell solar heaters through China. I was working in that time, and I was a student. I was paying myself my career, and I have a 9 to 5 p.m. work daily in a company as a how do you call it, like as a trainee, as a becario. So in that time, in the school, I just liked the idea to have my own business. So suddenly I won a prize for the school, and they sent us to Silicon Valley. And when I arrived to Silicon Valley, I felt that vibe of like, I want to do something, and I just quit to my job on that time by mail. Suddenly I forgot, like, I had to do something else, right? So I started to see what I was able to do, and I started to sell solar heaters in that time. It was a very good business in that time. I gathered some money, and I was able to buy my first property, but I didn't have any money at all to do the construction. So my mom lent me her house in order to put it as a collateral in a mortgage, and with that money I started the pre-sale in the construction, and started to do a lot of pre-selling because I didn't have enough money and resources to build my first building. I didn't have idea and experience to as a constructor, as a developer. I just had the desire. So the most important here is, like, doesn't matter that you don't have all the resources, all the skills. The only thing that you need to have is the desire, and the Creator is going to give you everything what you need. In that time, I met a really good architect, so he helped me a lot, and he helped me to manage certain things. And also I met people in the construction that helped me to manage how to deal with the authorities and everything. So it doesn't matter that you don't have right now all the resources and you have all the capabilities. You just need to have one thing, that is the desire of the Creator. So that's how I define success. And from that, I have done several businesses. And what I like to do in all the businesses is, like, get into the mud, like dive into the experience of the whole picture, because if you don't dive into the experience of the whole picture, you are not able to feel it, to sense it, and you need to be able to do that in order, like, to delegate eventually and move forward. So thanks to the Creator, I have had experiences good and bad, and I think it's part of the business and part of the game, right?
Beautiful, thanks, Victor. I'm sure you overcame fear. We spoke about fear a lot before you arrived. When the fear came in, how did you deal with it? Did you have fear or did you not?
Just run.
No fear.
I'm kidding. No, just kidding. I think always fear comes in different levels, But what I suggest is like to have a routine so you can build in strength, so you don't move for your personal. When you don't move for your personal routine, that just you're able like to move out of fear. So the main thing that we learn here in the Kabbalah Center is that we must have certainty. So, but how do you build certainty? Like when you need to pay the payrolls in the next week, when you need to pay suppliers, when you don't have enough sales in that moment, when you need to rush into the next rising of money or like several things, like that times when you don't know what to do, just like step back, breathe, inhale, exhale, and ask the Creator what is the best solution and the best thing to do. Sometimes, like I have had personal situations in different businesses, like risky situations, dealing with the narco, dealing with a lot of people that you don't want to deal in a daily times. It's not like just like a mad supplier, like getting the payment. No, like here in Mexico, you get used to deal with all kind of persons. So you just need to know that the Creator is always with you, and doesn't matter what is the reality outside, you will be fine.
We talk about success and spirituality and how they're hand in hand. As somebody who was successful and then came and started studying Kabbalah and spirituality, why did you feel you had a desire to study? You already had success, right, beforehand, so why did you feel that you had a need for it?
Because the main thing is spirituality. I mean, doesn't matter that the business is going good. That is just an illusion too. Like, because always there is a turnings on the economy. Like there is always good moments and challenging moments. So spirituality is like the foundation of everything what you can achieve. And when you are good with the Creator, when you are good with you, things are going to fall into the place.
Beautiful. Victor and I were joking. I stayed at Victor's house in Cancun for the days before we came to the retreat, and his wife was at school, and we spent Valentine's Day together, and we were kind of joking. We had a candlelit dinner, and we were laughing about it. So the reason why I mentioned that is we spoke about relationships and balance beforehand. How do you balance, you're married now, so how do you balance your marriage with your work and spirituality?
That's a very good question. So the main thing is always be open with your partner. Like, doesn't matter that what are you struggling, just like don't keep your things for yourself, because it doesn't matter that your partner is not related on the business, but she's related to you, and is the most important person for you. So in my case, Andre is not here yet, but she fully supports me all the time, whatever I do. So the way that I respond to her is giving her fully understanding of the situations, so she can sense what I'm doing in behalf of us, because I'm not working for me, I'm working for us and for our future family eventually. So what I highly suggest is like be fully open with your partner and tell and express how do you feel, why you are doing things, and what is the purpose, the truly purpose that you want to achieve with her related on the business, because it's not like separate things. We are one, right? So when we are one and we sense it that way, things go more easy. I have so many friends that they have a challenge with their partners because they don't express how do they feel, so their partners are thinking like they are being selfish and they are just thinking about them, but that's not right. They are like working in behalf of their family, but they don't know how to express it properly.
Right. I think that's such a great point because I can attest to that. I think when we're in a relationship with our partner, if they're not involved in our work, we maybe conceal certain things because we don't think they'll understand. Maybe it's your wife or your husband and they don't understand your field, so you feel like it's almost a waste of time to share the work challenges. But to Victor's points, when you don't share those things, then they feel that you're holding something from them, and then it creates a separation. So I think that's beautiful, and I can say for me in the past, it's been challenging to share for that exact reason. I said, she won't understand my work, so I might as well talk to her about good things, positive things, not bore her with the work details. But then what I noticed was she actually was curious and wanted to help me and support me in my work. And when I was open with her, then the business actually benefited from it. And I think that's the energy we know spiritually as a partner. Even if they don't know the solution or they can't help you with the work itself, just bringing their light into your work situation allows it to manifest more. It says in the Zohar that when you find your spouse, when you find your person, then the business becomes more successful. And the reason is because now, like we said earlier, it's not just about you. There's somebody else who can also benefit, whether it's your children, your wife, your husband. There's somebody else involved. And so I think that's a beautiful point. The next thing I wanted to ask you was, obviously you have challenges like everybody does. What is the biggest challenge that you've ever faced, whether it's relationship, work, and how did you overcome it?
That's a really good question. I just want to regard something. I had the opportunity to start to study Kabbalah when I was 23 years old. So for me, I became successful because I have a spiritual path. So because of it, right? So I just want to emphasize that. The biggest challenge that I have had, I have so many. I don't know what to start. I have daily challenges every day, but let's say this, 5 years ago, I got invited to invest in a music festival in Tulum, and everything was a mess. It was a terrible investment. It was a really bad investment, just not in terms of profitability, in terms of security. Because in that time, the music festivals in Tulum were the biggest thing. I didn't know the industry. I didn't have skills to manage that. But I felt that I was able to. So I think as an entrepreneur, sometimes you have something that I call in Spanish emprendiditis. Could be you see in everything an opportunity, and that is a symptom that as entrepreneur you need to relax, because you want to do business in everything, right. So you are all over the place. So I got invited to this business because I saw it as a real estate, but in my knowledge it was not real estate business. I just wanted to have fun. So that was the first problem. The second problem is that I didn't have skills to manage that. And the third problem, I didn't invest in the right in the right topics to secure the investment. For example, instead of investing in the security of the festival, I invested in the publicity, right? So I learned from that business that, first of all, that do not jump from one business to other business, just because you want to have fun. Second, invest in what secure or add value to the business, because I knew that I had to invest in security because it was a matter to keep the control, to keep the security in the festival, and I invested in other things instead of investing that. And because of that, we didn't have enough human resources to control all the festival, and just a security thing happened, and we had to close the festival. So what I learned is put the money where it generates more money, or secure the money.
Right.
So that's what I learned from that failure. That's it. Just leave it on the past. Like, don't be attached to the past.
Beautiful. I want to see from a show of hands here, who in this room feels that they're meant to be successful in whatever way you define it? Great. So seems most of the room. And so I think when you have that desire, it's already manifested. But I think that where we get disconnected is we don't know how, right? And so we question how. We say, I know I should have money, but I don't know how I'm going to get it. All these questions, just by saying them out loud and not being afraid of them, is how the answers come in. And so we may think, I need to have everything figured out. But like I shared earlier on, I have nothing figured out. I have a business with 10 employees, 20 customers, 20 investors. I still have no idea what I'm doing. Like, that's the truth. I talk to investors, I pretend like I know what I'm talking about. I talk to customers, I do the same thing. The truth is, I have absolutely no idea, but the right words come to me, and then the right ideas come, and I'm able to work it out. So I want to double down. I don't think even Victor, who's very successful and has been doing this for many years, there's so much that we don't know, right? You do something, and then you figure it out. And I think that's the most important thing as an entrepreneur. Do it first, and then if you're wrong, you can always adjust. But Jeff Bezos always says that people are not successful because they don't have time. They're not successful because they don't take the first step. When you take the first step, then the success can come. But it's that fear of, am I doing the right thing? Should I raise money first? Should I hire employees first? Just do. You'll learn if you're wrong, and if you're right, great. There's no worst case scenario. The worst case scenario is sitting with our hands tied and waiting for that right thing to come, which it never will. So Victor, I want to ask you, as somebody who's younger, when you were 10, 12, 15 years old, did you know you were going to be successful?
Honestly, no. I just knew that I wanted to have my own business from a very short age, but I didn't know if I was about to be successful or not. I just had the desire to do something to, how I define now, is to add value. But in that time, when this is just a short personal story, when I was 15, I was always related to older people. I had friends of 18, 19 years old, and in Mexico, you are legal when you turn 18, right? So my friends of that time, of my age, they were not allowed to be in a bar or a nightclub, but they wanted to go out. So I started to do parties at house and hire a DJ and bring in some music, and I just charge $20 per person because I wanted to make my friends happy.
Right.
So, and that was my driving. So, but I didn't know what's illegal in Mexico. So, but suddenly everything just turned really bad. But I mean, at the age of 15, I was making per weekend $1,000.
Wow.
So
15.
For me, in that time that my parents didn't give me just a domingo, a weekly allowance, $1,000 for me was a lot, right? So the point is always the driver in business is how you can add value to a person, a society, a business, and the result is success. So when you're focused in adding massive value to others, you will receive as a result a success.
Beautiful. You touched a bit on the partying, so I'll share a bit with the audience. Victor was a big partier for many years. I think right until from 15 till 21?
Yes, exactly.
And maybe every day, right, for a period of time. So how did you, go away from that? And then now you don't party at all, really. So what was the shifting point for you?
I would say that for example, my family, my friends. So I used to be a heavy drinker. My parents told me, my mother told me hey, listen, I see that you are this, but as a good son, I was saying, no, later, mom. So also other friends. So you always need to have in your net 5 people that you admire because they do something that perhaps you are not be able to do it yet. So in that time, I had a friend that he was part of a double A. So I asked him like, hey, listen, I'm feeling like this, and he worried about me, and he started to giving me advices. So that's what that was I was able to move forward and step back and saying, hey, listen, yes, this is not getting me anywhere. So I recommend that you must have always like me anywhere. So I recommend that you must have always like a net of support.
Beautiful. Yeah, as Victor was saying, and it's one of the foundational teachings of Kabbalah, Rav Ashlag would teach that the only real choice we have in life is our environment, right? And so for Victor, he had a friend who was sober, and so that got him out of it. But when we're looking at our own lives, if we want to manifest something, or if we have a desire to be a certain way, we want to be happier, the first thing we need to do is look at the people around us. Because as Victor was saying, that's who we're going to be. Whether we want to be that or not, we're so influenced by our surroundings that if our friends are gossiping, we'll gossip. If our friends are unhappy, we'll be unhappy. Even if our life is great, we're just so impacted by that. And so again, as I was looking at my notes here, the most common theme with everybody who was successful was they were surrounded by successful people. They didn't spend time with people who were, less than them or those that were not on the same level of desire as them. They spent time with people who made them feel uncomfortable. Those that were very, very successful and they were not, and that created this burning desire within them to be like those people, and then they had the resources and tools to do so. And so for the audience, I'd love if you guys, can ask questions directly to Victor. I'm sure we've been sharing a lot of different concepts here, but I feel that the best way to leave with something that you can take away is through the lens of your own experience. So does anybody have any specific questions? If you do, I see a hand went up. Please feel free to come up.
I really just am here to call you out because I heard a rumor that you might bring a center to Tulum, and I just wanted to see if that was true.
Yes.
Because I live there, and those of us in Tulum, raise your hands, the ones in Tulum, we would really love a center in Tulum. That's really
That's
all, but
exciting.
I guess maybe the bigger question is, if you could summarize your understanding of Kabbalah into a single lesson, what would it be?
What I have learned or from Kabbalah?
What you have learned, yeah, from Kabbalah.
Certainty. Certainty that everything is so challenges the situation, and I just want to, for example, exchange, in one project in Acapulco, we have to solve a lot of, legal issues and, deal with very bad people because if not, we were, perhaps lose that project. So, of course, there is more important the personal security always, but also, one of my daily drivers is, all the people that we hire. We, thank God, we give more direct 500 employees all over Mexico, and I'm very touchy because as David was mentioned, I had the opportunity when I was 17, 18 years old. I went to Canada and I was working as a labor, as a painter and everything, and I was living in my weekly payments. So I understand the labor force, and if you just kick them out of any site, they really have struggles in their lives, in their families. So one of my mainly drivers every week is to generate more employees. So you must have certainty that everything always is going to fall into the place. Doesn't matter how it looks. It's just it is just the physicality. I would say that. Thank you. And that's it at the center.
Victor, I'm going to share with you that to do the work for the light is an amazing blessing. So we have a bookstore and a group in Ciudad del Carmen. When you invite your money in the light is only blessings. So thanks God that you are in the right way.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Mucho gusto, hermano.
Hi, I just wanted to ask you, I'm also a businesswoman, and I think sometimes when you have a lot of preparation, instead of making things easier, it makes you have more fear because you have more knowledge. And so I wanted to ask you if every time that you started a new business, what do you do? Like, do you learn more about the business, or do you surround yourself with prepared people?
That's a really good question. Okay, so I would say that, I don't know how to say it in English, but I'm going to say it in Spanish, is que no te dé parálisis por análisis.
Okay.
So, what does it mean this? Just like learn the main things of the business, like what is the real business in the business? Because sometimes we don't buy a pen because it's a pen. You buy a pen because you need to write something. And why do you need to write something? Because, I don't know, you need to, let's say, send a proposal or something. So you buy or you acquire things because of what do you want to achieve with that. So learn that from the business, nail that in the business, abstract it, and then jump into the business. That's what I like to do, is like get into the mouth of the business, like talk to everybody and try to do all the tasks of the business so you are able to live it. For example, in the first, in the solar heater business, I was the delivery guy, I was the sales guy, I was the manager of the business, I was everything. And when you're an entrepreneur and you are starting, you do everything. But when you start to grow, you start to delegate. But still learn how to do everything in the business. So you are able to live it in real skin. And when you are able to sense it, you are able to smell the opportunities. So where is like the success in business is when you put together your knowledge and how you can add value, and when you are so much more value in a different way and put it with the business, you create something beautiful. That is like the gap of putting things together as an entrepreneur. What is like I like to do, for example, in other businesses that we were running, our competitors were like huge banks and everything, and in that time it just was mom and I and like 5 people, and in 2 years we overpassed the other like big banks that they have that they were in the industry like for 20 years. So doesn't matter how your competitors look, you are always able to deliver value. And when you deliver value, and that like multiplies for several things, you scale. So that's the way to achieve new businesses in my personal idea.
Okay, thank you.
Gracias. Thank you.
So I'll say my question in Spanish and then in English. Entonces, estaba pensando en tu experiencia como cuando empezaste tus negocios, que empezaste a ver mucha abundancia, empezaste a crecer en tu business. ¿Cómo fue el resultado con tu familia? Digamos, tuviste tu familia no al mismo nivel como tú estabas y tú estabas creciendo. Entonces, estoy curiosa de ese guilt que hablan. So now I'll say in Spanish. So I'm curious, from Victor's experience, how he dealt with the guilt as you succeed as a business person, as an entrepreneur. How do you deal with family members not being at that same level, and you continue to grow, but you see that your family is still not in that place? And actually, it's also a spiritual question too, because as we grow spiritually, right, our family may not be at that same level. Sorry.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I understand what your question is about, like, because you cover all the expenses of your family and they don't want to, like, be part, or is about that?
So, like, yes, so that's part, but when you continue to, sometimes they say, well, people that make a lot of money, they're kind of greedy, and they say these kind of different things, not referring to you particularly, or I would say to anybody, but that they have a different frame of mind because they don't have the same success that you have.
You are saying that they don't have the same desire as you.
Exactly.
Okay. That is a thing of desire, and everybody, like, has their specific moment, because sometimes happen, like, you have a big desire, but the other person is still awakening that desire. So I think that the best thing is to just respect their process and just be a partner in that process, like, not like becoming
like judgmental.
Yeah,
right.
Like saying, no, you don't have to say, no, like, just everybody have a different process. I'm going to say this quote in Spanish, but is, si yo supiera todo lo que ha vivido la otra persona, nunca juzgaría. So we really never know what is the other person experience or have experienced. So you must just be like you, like, we just support them and, like, try to explain things in order and share positive things from the sharing, not from the judgmental.
And that's how you release the guilt within you, because that's the part that gets to me sometimes, is that guilt that they are on a different path.
But why do you feel guilty?
Because I feel like a sense of responsibility myself to them, and I know I need to give that space, but I need to work on that part of guilt. I feel like because they're family, and so I have a desire that the Creator put inside of me, that's correct, but I see a difference in family members, and in my heart, I would love for them to come up with me. And sometimes that's not possible.
Just release it. Like, the soul doesn't feel guilty. The body and the body consciousness is what feels guilty. So
that's great. That's good.
That's an illusion created from the physical body.
Yes.
So the soul is pure, the soul is elevated. So when you are feeling a desire to share, that is your soul speaking. And when you are feeling guilty, that is your body consciousness. So unfortunately, we as a human beings, we cannot be responsible for the others. We can only be channels that, in order that others awaken their inner light. But we don't do the work.
Right.
The Creator does the work, right?
Right.
Everything.
Right.
So just be an example in their lives, an inspiration, without trying to control that they must be like you want.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
That would be my personal advice.
Gracias. Perfecto. Gracias. Mucho gusto conocerte. Gracias.
Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Victor. Just wanted to say a couple things before either we join the next breathwork session or the workout outside. This success series is just the early stages. This is the beginning of it. We're going to be doing global tours around all the different centers in the world. Brazil and Paraguay will be next month in March. We're doing London, Miami, LA, and the idea is that giving people a lens of Kabbalah through a student who's practiced, who's lived it, who's achieved success through it. And so if you're in any of those cities, or if you'd like us to come to yours, please reach out to us either on Instagram at The Success Series, our website, successseries.com. Kabbalah Center does so much great work, and so this is an extension of it. And we appreciate you all being here. If you'd like to see more content, follow us on Instagram at The Success Series. Check out our website, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. It's all there. Share it with your friends, and thank you all for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
I just want to recognize David because at his own age, he's such a businessman, such an inspiration, and I found him first of all, a very good friend, and a very good person that is going to change the world in some way, or is changing the world in some way. So I just want that everybody give us a big applause to him, please.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.